Most men don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they're carrying nothing heavy enough to keep them standing. In ancient Japan, warriors learned this early. Motivation dies, pain remains. Only purpose moves you forward. They had a word for that purpose, and without it, you will quit everything that matters. They called it Ikigai. If this opening resonates with you, consider subscribing and continue walking the Ashen Path. He starts strong. Always has. The beginning obeys him. New plans line up clean. Resolve feels sharp in the hand. The surge arrives. That familiar electricity that whispers this time is different. For a moment, it is. Then resistance answers, not as panic, as weight. Fear sharpens quietly. Progress thickens. The days stretch longer than the will. Isolation moves in without announcing itself. Friends become distant. Silence fills the spaces where momentum used to live. He tightens his jaw, doubles down, calls it discipline. More grit, more pressure, more force. He believes strength means clenching harder. But night after night, with no applause, no immediate proof, the grip weakens, not all at once. First, excuses learn his voice, then delays learn his schedule, then comfort learns his patterns. He does not fall apart, he erodes. Progress doesn't collapse. It thins until it disappears without ceremony. He wakes one morning and realizes he has been negotiating for weeks. Modern culture tells him quitting is a failure of character. That endurance alone separates winners from the forgotten. Ancient Japan would have judged differently, not harshly, precisely. A man who relies on motivation has already chosen conditions over duty. A man who needs inspiration has placed comfort above resolve. When hardship arrives, and it always does, the hierarchy reveals itself. What is deeper, his path, or his desire to feel good? The Ronin understood this early. Comfort was never the enemy. It was the test. Because when pain stretches long, and progress stays invisible, only one thing remains standing: the reason you decided, before it hurt. If that reason is shallow, the return to comfort is inevitable. And if this feels familiar, uncomfortable, too close, then understand this. If nothing changes after this moment, it will not be confusion. It will be choice. The Last Ronin did not survive on motivation. He outlived it. Motivation burned bright, then vanished. As it always does. What remained had to endure hunger, cold mornings, long silences where no one watched. Long before isolation hardened him, Japan carved a principle into men who could not afford collapse. Ikigai, not happiness, not passion, not excitement that rises and falls. A reason to wake that does not negotiate with difficulty. Farmers rose before dawn not because they felt inspired, but because absence meant starvation. Monks endured cold stone and thinner meals. Not because it felt noble, but because clarity demanded sacrifice. Warriors advanced not because courage surged, but because retreat would fracture who they were. Ikigai was not something you found. It was something you accepted. Aunts accepted. It closed every back door. There was no debate with fatigue. No argument with fear, no permission granted to comfort. Duty replaced mood, resolve replaced preference. The Ronin did not ask, "Do I feel capable today?" He asked, "Who do I become if I don't act?" That question silenced everything else. Modern culture tells you to follow passion, to wait until desire aligns with effort. Ancient Japan would have seen that as dangerous softness. Desire fades, meaning binds. A man powered by emotion moves only when the path feels warm. A man bound to meaning moves even when the ground cuts his feet. Ikigai was not motivation, it was a verdict. Once you accepted it, turning back was not failure, it was self-erasure. And here is the quiet judgment that remains. If your reason dissolves under pressure, it was never deep enough. Not wrong, not immoral, just shallow. And shallow reasons always surrender to comfort. Your biology fights long-term effort, not out of malice, out of design. Dopamine hunts novelty, the quick spark, the visible reward. The nervous system flinches from sustained pain. It scans for relief, for shortcuts disguised as logic. The ego searches for exits. The moment identity feels cornered. Psychology confirms what you already feel. Goals collapse when they float above the self. When effort is asked to carry meaning alone. This is where most men break. They mistake resistance for a lack of discipline. They apply more force, more pressure, more self-criticism, and the fracture deepens. Zen understood this centuries ago. Desire flickers, it rises, it fades, it betrays, purpose steadies. When the mind empties of craving, action stops arguing. Bushido went further and colder. A man who quits easily does not lack strength. He lacks a reason that can survive suffering. Steel does not fail in the forge because it is weak. It fails when it was never meant to be tempered. The internal war is not between willpower and comfort. It is between identity and emptiness. One man decides once and carries the weight without discussion. Another negotiates daily and bleeds energy with every choice. Ask yourself quietly when pain arrives, what exactly are you protecting, your future or your feelings? Because the moment effort stops serving pleasure. Only one thing remains capable of moving you, a reason that does not care how you feel. If that reason is absent, the mind will sabotage every plan with perfect logic, not because you are lazy, not because you are broken, because emptiness cannot endure pressure. And here is the judgment you cannot escape if nothing inside you becomes heavier than comfort. Comfort will always win, not today, not dramatically, but eventually. And when it does, it will feel less like failure and more like inevitability. Which is why this moment matters. Because if you walk away unchanged, it will not be ignorance. It will be choice. Ikigai demands something uncomfortable. You choose a purpose that costs you something. Not something that excites you, something that claims you, something that follows you into fatigue. Into doubt, into the hours where no reward appears. The Ronin did not ask if the path still felt right. He asked if he was still the man who chose it. He bound his days to a single direction, not with optimism, with resolve. Even when fear sharpened, even when pain accumulated quietly in the joints, even when silence was the only witness. This is where the separation begins. The modern mind resists this with precision. It keeps options warm. It preserves exits. It rehearses explanations for retreat. It wants progress without identity, effort without consequence. Commitment that can be revised, but Ikigai does not negotiate. Bushido understood this with brutal clarity. A man without duty is a man in fragments. When obligation is external, discipline must be forced. When obligation is internal, discipline becomes alignment. The Ronin did not push himself forward. He removed the direction that allowed him to turn back. Zen calls this non-negotiation, not rigidity, stillness of intent. The mind stops arguing when there is nothing left to debate. Two men face the same hardship. One asks, "How do I feel about this now?" The other remembers, "What did I decide when I was clear?" One negotiates daily and bleeds energy with every choice. The other decides once and walks through difficulty without ceremony. Ikigai is not motivation. It does not rise or fall. It is a line drawn so deeply into identity that crossing it would feel like self-erasure. And this is the judgment that arrives without noise. If quitting does not cost you who you are, you will always find a reason to do it. Not dramatically, not today, but slowly, quietly, until the path behind you is crowded with abandoned beginnings and the one ahead feels impossibly far. Ikigai removes that future. When quitting would mean betraying yourself, the question disappears. And in that silence, action becomes inevitable. Fire burns steadily when fed consistently. Water carves stone through patience. Steel holds shape because it accepts pressure. Without complaint, Ikigai works the same way, not in bursts, not in moods. In repetition, small actions repeated daily become evidence. Then expectation, then identity. This is where most men fracture. They act when inspired, pause when tired, disappear when resistance feels personal. Gaps open, and into those gaps, doubt enters quietly. Neuroscience echoes what the Ronin lived by. Behavior aligned with identity requires less willpower. The brain stops negotiating when the action feels inevitable. Consistency reinforces not just habit, but self-image. But this truth cuts both ways. Every gap is a vote against the man you claim to be. Every skipped ritual weakens the shape you are forging. Not dramatically, slowly. The Ronin understood this danger. He did not seek intensity. He protected continuity, samey hour, same movement, samey silence, even when effort felt dull, even when progress felt invisible. Especially then, Bushido demanded honor in repetition, not glory, not recognition. Honor meant showing up unchanged by mood. Zen stripped the act of self-commentary, no praise, no disappointment, just form. This is where the split becomes permanent. The man who negotiates daily must reconvince himself every morning. The man who decides once simply continues. One leaks energy through choice, the other conserves it through inevitability. The Ronin did not wake asking if he was capable. That question had already been answered. By yesterday, and the day before. And the day before that, where gaps appear, doubt grows teeth. Where continuity remains, doubt starves. Eventually, quitting does not feel dramatic. It feels impossible. Not because the path is easy, but because leaving it would require becoming someone else. And that cost is finally too high. Ancient warriors prepared for quitting long before it tempted them. Not with optimism. With severity, vows were sworn where they could not be forgotten. Codes were memorized until hesitation had nowhere to hide. Paths were chosen with no return. Because retreat fractures identity before it saves the body. The Ronin did not trust his future emotions. He bound them. He understood something modern men avoid. When the moment comes, you will not rise to your ideals. You will fall to your preparations. So he pre-decided his response to fear. When pain arrived, he endured, not heroically, silently. When loneliness surfaced, he continued. No audience, no reassurance. When failure loomed, he adjusted angle, grip timing. But he did not retreat. Bushido called this resolve, not stubbornness. Finality, a decision made once so it could not be argued with later. Zen removed the inner courtroom entirely, no prosecution, no defense, only action. This is where the modern mind panics. It wants flexibility. It wants options when pressure rises. It wants the comfort of escape disguised as wisdom. But every escape route weakens the spine. I'll decide later teaches the mind that commitment is temporary. And temporary men do not endure. Modern life demands the same clarity the Ronin lived by. You decide in advance what happens when progress slows, when motivation evaporates, when silence answers effort, not emotionally. Emotion cannot be trusted under fire structurally. You remove the choice before weakness asks for it, because when quitting becomes a discussion, it has already won. This is how quitting is prevented, not with motivation, not with speeches, but with a decision. So final it no longer needs defending. And once that line is crossed, there is no drama, only continuation, whether you like it or not. Eventually something changes, not suddenly, not cleanly, quietly. You stop asking how long it will take, because the question no longer matters. You stop wondering if it's worth it, because the alternative has become unbearable. You stop flirting with the idea of escape, even in thought, not from strength, from finality. You move because stopping would break something inside you. Not motivation, not momentum, identity. The old self still whispers, still calculates, still suggests comfort dressed as wisdom, but its voice carries no authority. It speaks, and nothing answers. This is the power of Ikigai, not inspiration, not passion. Wait. A reason heavy enough to bend choice, deep enough to survive fatigue, sharp enough to cut through doubt. The Ronin did not wake each day asking what he felt like doing. He woke already claimed. His mornings belonged to duty. His suffering had context. His loneliness had meaning. Even pain had direction. Bushido called this honor, not as reputation, but as alignment. To quit would not merely stop progress. It would shatter coherence. Zen stripped away the remaining argument. No self to protect. No outcome to negotiate. Only the next step. This is where most men fail. They want purpose without cost, meaning without sacrifice, direction with exits intact. But Ikigai allows no exit. Once chosen, it becomes judgment, every hesitation measured against it, every excuse exposed by it, every comfort weighed and found wanting. And slowly, relentlessly, the weaker self recedes. Not defeated, outgrown. The last Ronin does not push himself forward. There is no force. No hype, no internal shouting, he is pulled by something older than desire, heavier than fear, and final enough that turning back is no longer an option. This is the transformation. Not becoming stronger, becoming unable to betray what you have decided to be, and once that threshold is crossed, there is no struggle left. Only continuation, day after day. Without drama, without negotiation, because the question of whether you will continue has already been answered. If this philosophy resonates with you, subscribe for more lessons from the Last Ronin and the path of Japan, Bushido, and Zen. motivation collapses under pressure. But a man bound to purpose does not quit, no matter the cost.